call this meeting to order. If you would, follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, invocation from Charlie.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just, first of all, thank you for who you are and who we are in you, Lord. We thank you for the mercy and the grace that you give us each and every day, and we just invite you into these chambers right now, Lord. We just ask that you guide us and direct us. We ask for wisdom, and Father, first and foremost, we just ask that you help us to remain centered in your will as we move forward. We love you and we praise you, for it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Charlie. Madam Clerk, get a roll call, please.
Lucas. Denham.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Yep.
Howden. Here. LeBlanc.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, we have any speakers tonight?
We do. We have one speaker this evening.
Well, please note there will be a five-minute limit on all items listed on the agenda. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear from the citizens who have signed up in the order they were listed. So number one will be first.
The first speaker is Matt.
I'm not done.
I'm so sorry.
Please note the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask the speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring an item down from the consent agenda for additional discussion, please note it during their comments. Please come to the freestanding microphone to address the Board of Aldermen. Madam Clerk, who do we have?
We have Matt Kendrick speaking on 2030 Community Survey.
Hey, y'all. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board,
Matt.
Administrator. How are you? Everybody well? Hey, before I get into this, I was just curious, is it allowed for a member of the public to nominate a city employee for Employee of the Month?
I would think the answer would be yes.
I would just say it because I'd like to just extend, if it's allowed, Jim Cartwright from Parks. I mean, just like the relationship that I've built with him since he's been building the RV park, and Jim, has known my family's gone through some trying times in the last few months, and every time I talk to him, he's like, "Hey, how's your family?" He's always wanting to know about how I am and the family and what he does outside of the city of Branson. I'm not going to get into all that. He's probably mad if he's watching that I'm even bringing his name up, but what he does outside the city of Branson is tremendous, so I just throw his name out there. So just
Let me check with the boss. Cindy, you okay with that?
no, thank you. So back to this, guys. I just want to, we need your help. I'm on the committee for this, to get this out here for public knowledge. And I walked downtown Saturday handing these out. Went to the library, and a lot of people have the misconception that it's exclusively for the citizens of Branson. And I just want to let people know, yes, we want the citizens of Branson to absolutely fill this out and give us their input. But this is more about the city of Branson. So we want tourists. We want people who go to church here, just go to shows here, who travel through Branson to fill this out as well, because their input is just as important, for the future growth of Branson. So, whether we can, I don't know if we can get other municipalities involved to throw this out there too, because a lot of their residents in Hollister, Forsyth, and so on, maybe they come church or have medical appointments here, and so they're coming through Branson. So, just the more we can do to get this out there to the public's knowledge, I think will help the city tremendously, because in my opinion, I don't think there's such a thing as too much data on this. So, thanks,
Very
guys.
good. Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate you. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board or staff would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or make comments? Alex Gerard would like to move item number 5 down.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I'm here this evening to ask for your support in pulling down item number 5 on the consent agenda. City administration has been engaged recently in a process to review cooperative agreements and contracts across our city to ensure fiscal responsibility, ensure the city is fully executing its agreements it's signed into, and of course, providing enhanced focus on city funds and resources that are spent. In this review, we've identified a number of services performed by the city that we respectively have determined to be outside of the scope of the cooperative agreement with the downtown CID. The city and the downtown CID have a proven track record of partnership, close communication and cooperation, and a shared goal of promoting our historic downtown district. So although we're pulling this item down tonight, we feel confidently this will continue. With this in mind, we've engaged in some proactive good faith conversations with the downtown CAD and respectfully asked to meet with their board as soon as possible to discuss this matter and ultimately come to a better understanding and agreement moving forward on these resources and overall level of service. So staff respectfully asked the board to postpone this item to the next legislative session as we continue to have these good faith conversations to ensure the cooperative agreement is fairly exercised in the fullest and to ensure city taxpayer funds and resources are spent responsibly. Thank you for consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Hearing none. Hillary, would we vote to postpone this?
Mr. Gerard is just asking for it to be pulled off of the consent for now, and then we'll read it
Then we're going to address
after
it.
the consent on the regular.
Okay.
Yeah, I was confused, because he said postpone, but we're just moving it,
Moving it
right?
down,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, fair enough.
That's my ultimate ask, yes.
Any other questions or pulling anything else down from the consent? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda as amended?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of Board of Aldermen minutes for March 11th, 2025 regular meeting and March 13th, 2025 special meeting. Acknowledge receipt of the Planning Commission minutes for the February 4th, 2025 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Industrial Development Authority minutes from the February 23rd, 2024 regular meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements from February 20th, 2025 through March 18th, 2025. And final reading of Bill Number 6529, an ordinance approving the first addendum to the 2025-2027 collective bargaining agreement with Southern Missouri Professional Firefighters Local Number 152, affiliated with the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO CLC, pertaining to amending of the 2025-2027 agreement for minor corrections and a one-year trial period for the 48 96-hour shift schedule and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote?
Lucas? Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is the final reading of Bill Number 6528, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of Branson, Missouri, approving the extension of the term of the historic downtown Branson Community Improvement District.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6528. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Yeah,
I think we're going to.
you can put it on the floor for discussion for a second if you wanted to, and then.
Did I hear a second? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? So, is there?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this item, we asked to respectfully have this postponed to the next legislative session. As I mentioned in my intro of asking you to please pull this down from consent, we're engaging in conversations with the Downtown CID Board, hopefully soon. We've made that request today, actually. So we're hoping to have those good conversations about some of the expenditures that we've identified that fall outside of the cooperative agreement that the city currently has with the CID. This is, again, part of our larger effort that we've embarked on to look at all of the city contracts, the cooperative agreements that we've entered into, to maximize those resources, to make sure that we're paying attention to how the city is allocating those funds, how we're spending those funds, and the respective oversight. So this was flagged as part of that initiative, and we asked to have conversations here with the CID to negotiate some of the dollars we feel are outside of the cooperative agreement, and we'll get back to you at a later date once those conversations and a negotiation has happened and solidified.
Hillary, do I need an alderman to make this motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. I move to postpone the final reading of Bill Number 6528 for to allow for more discussion, conversation.
Second.
And also just to postpone it into the next legislative term, if that could be in the motion as well.
And to postpone into the next legislative term.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second to postpone this item. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this postponement?
Yes, Mayor.
Ruth?
I would just like to thank our city administrator Kathy and Alex. Thank you so much for your thorough reviews of all our contracts. You guys are always ahead of the game on making sure that everything's done properly and we're saving the taxpayer dollars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak
Mr.
regarding
Mayor?
this? Sorry, Glenn, yes.
I too want to just say thanks to the staff for doing this administrative review, but on the same hand, I also want to be clear that this is not a vote or a delay of our support of the historic CID, that we're very much in favor of this organization. They've done a great job for the city. They have great leadership in their staff, and we want to see this thing brought to a successful conclusion as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Any other aldermen? Hearing none. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Hearing none. Please vote on this postponement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mayor and Board.
Thanks, Alex.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation by Angie Teal on the 2024 year-end Convention Center report.
We will begin with the report from Angie Teal.
Thank you, Mayor, Aldermen, Kathy. I appreciate you all allowing me to speak with you this evening. I have some really good information to share if anybody hasn't done a sneak peek already. Make sure I remember how to use this properly. Okay, so here are our 2024 statistics for the Convention Center. Just over 200,000 visitors through the door. That is a little bit down from last year by about 10,000, but pretty steady. What's incredible is the number of event days that has increased. That means the events are staying longer. Actually, if you look at the average days per event, that was 2.6 last year. It's 2.9 this year. So the events that are coming into the convention center are staying longer. 171 events, which last year that was 154, so more events. And our economic impact was over 70 million. Last year it was right around 58 million. So again, that's an incredible impact, increase in the impact. And of course, we couldn't do it without Explore Branson and our partners at the Hiltons of Branson. Obviously the first rule of sales is to make sure that people are happy. Again, we continue to have 100% of our event organizers and guests identify as promoters, meaning they had a great experience and that they would recommend the convention center. Jordan and her team also booked 160 events for future years for an estimated revenue of $4.2 million. That's up from the same time last year was about 3.1 million. So we're ahead of pace on that. Jordan and her team attended 5 conferences, including the Christian Meeting and Conventions Association, Sports ETA, Connect Marketplace, Teams, and IAE Expo. And we will be attending all of those as well, again, this year outside of the Christian Meeting and Conventions Association. And here is my favorite slide of the presentation. We had a 9.6 increase in adjusted gross income over budget. Our actuals for gross income was 4.4 million when it was budgeted to be 4 million. Operating expenses were a little bit higher, but I think you guys will be pleased with only having a net income loss of $16,000. Takes a little bit more money sometimes to make money. So, that's about $300,000 ahead of budget, which is pretty incredible. It's my understanding, and looking back at past financials, that is the second best financial performance of the convention center since it opened. So pretty excited. This team right here is big part of that. They're the reason that we were able to have such an incredible year. And then looking at compared to 2023, which was a $262,000 loss. So well ahead of last year's pace. And a large of that large increase was due to some of the additional services that we were bringing into the convention center to offer to our staff, or to our guests.
So Angie,
Yes, sir.
go back to that. So what you budgeted last year was anticipating a $319,000 loss.
Correct.
and you ended up with a $16,000 loss.
Correct.
What can we do about that just kidding.
Well, okay, so,
That
you know,
is-
you can look at revenues, you can also look at expenses. I did hire 3 interns last summer, and we'll go over those in later slides, but, you know, that's about the difference of the intern. But we were able to bring a great experience to
That
3
is
locals in the community.
absolutely phenomenal.
It's pretty incredible. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you know, revenue is obviously a big part of that, but we're doing the same thing that the city is doing and reviewing our contracts to make sure that they're the best for the building and we're getting the best pricing and making sure that we're getting quality products out there for the convention centers and the taxpayers' dollars. And we're going to continue to do that in 2025.
I'm going to interrupt again.
Please do.
Convention centers nationwide are typically a loss leader for that community, right? The city is willing to pay tax dollars to support the convention center because of the economic impact those visitors have in the community, right? So it's a given for it to be a loss.
It can be both.
And then here comes Angie, right? That is just, I'm going to tell you, that is just phenomenal.
Thank you, thank you. You know, Misty, our new director of finance, was, you know, she goes through those numbers and she analyzes them left and right. When she sent that over to me, I about did a cartwheel. I haven't done a cartwheel in several years, but
Can we see
I
one?
know, video or it didn't happen. But
Can we see one?
can you what? No, I haven't done one in years, and I don't plan on doing one here either. This is on video. No, sir. I'm willing to do a lot of things, but a cartwheel on camera is not one of them. But thank you for those kind words. The team has been working really hard. I know I put a lot of challenges out to them, and they met every single one of them. And it's incredible. And 2025 is just going to be more incredible because we've got some really great things that we're working on. And now I'm just going to go through like kind of a fun picture slideshow. I'm sorry I'm over my 5 slides, but there's a lot of really great value in these pictures. This is Branson, this is Branson Convention Center in the news. We were featured in Springfield Business Journal 2 times. We completed the Convention Center expansion feasibility study, which was, day 2 on the job. I was asked to do that, and that was an incredible process. Chef David, our new director of food and beverage, and Chef Shannon, they mentored the Branson's very first Pro Start team, which they got top 5 in the state of Missouri. So that was really fantastic. They started training with them in December, and the competition was in February. So they literally had like 8 weeks to get these kids to make three parts of the meal. It was a steak tartare appetizer with a duck egg on top. It was Chilean sea bass with the skin on with some roasted vegetables. And then they did crepes. They had kids like flipping crates out of the pan. It was incredible. And then of course I can't go without talking about the world's largest rubber ducky being in the parking lot. It was really cool. We got a lot of comments and feedback on that. The next thing is educational opportunities. Continuing education is a big part of my career, and I want to continue to offer that to the staff at the Convention Center. Our culinary team is getting recognized throughout the company, and they were actually invited to go down to the Alamo Dome in San Antonio to help them with that event. That's Chef David and Shannon right there. That is Chloe right there in the top picture. She was one of our interns, and she's actually been hired on and working in the industry. And then we have our culinary intern, Kelsey. She, Kathy, you mentioned the wonderful biscuits that we have. She's responsible for that. She works on our bake shop. She was one of our interns. She's from College of the Ozarks. We've hired her on, and now she's working with Blanca, who's our baker. And then, Ashley here, she's gone to venue management school, which is, where you learn everything about venue management, but you also learn about your leadership style and your management style. And so she was able to graduate from that program. And then we hosted our very first all-staff training. It's something so simple, but something that hadn't been done before. And we actually brought the senior vice president of convention centers of our company in and was able to engage with the staff. And that was pretty cool that he made the trip to Branson. Obviously, capital purchases are important. Thank you guys so much for your generous contribution to keeping the building beautiful. The biggest noticeable one is obviously the carpet has been replaced. It's looking lovely. We're starting to finish up the painting to make sure everything looks nice. We were able to add this glass meeting room in a space of the building that was kind of underutilized or not used at all. When I was visiting the College of Business at Missouri State, they had these all over their lobby area. It's a nice, quiet place for people to go in, continue their business while they're at the convention center for an event or whatever, because we all know when you go to events, your normal business doesn't stop. So that's a great addition. You know, the quality of food has been incredible. So you see there Chef Roxanne working on our new stove. As I mentioned before, they were working on a 2-burner stove prior to this. Imagine cooking your Thanksgiving dinner on 2 burners. I can't do it with 4, and we were cooking for thousands of people on 2. So, and then we also were able to get a combi oven, and in the chef world, that is gold, because you can steam, you can roast, you can smoke, all in this one machine, and everything comes out perfect. So really, really great equipment to add. And then obviously the decor and presentation elements that we've been using going forward. New concept, part of that additional ancillary income that allowed us to have a great financial performance is partnering with some third-party vendors. You know, we have 2 concession stands at the convention center, and when you're bringing in events that have thousands of people, that's just not enough to service those people in an expedited manner. So we partnered with Maui Wowie Hawaiian Smoothies, so they come in and sell tropical smoothies. And then also with Killwinds down from the landing, they come in and sell ice cream and fudge and all that. And they have agreed to sign on for 2025 as well because they had such a great experience. You know, we added something as simple as walking tacos to the concession menu. That's something that can be made really quickly and people could eat it on the go. You can eat it when you're sitting, you know, watching a dance or cheer competition, you're walking around at a convention. And so that was a great addition. And then we went as far as making sure that we had the best coffee. So we brought in a lot of the local roasters and were able to sample the coffee. The staff went through, did a blind vote, and we were able to get a really great coffee concept. And then we also added vending machines. Again, something so simple, but it's another outlet for people to be able to get a beverage at any time. And then celebrating the team is a big part of it. You know, on the upper corner there, that is our team helping plant some trees at North Beach Park, which is really fun. We've adopted that park, and so we are there helping plant trees, do a park cleanup, all those things. We've updated our recruitment efforts when we go to job fairs and career fairs, where we actually bring a Pop-A-Shot, and we got Branson-themed basketball jerseys. And it's been, now people come to the job fairs and they're like, I've heard about you. I mean, it's Pop-A-Shot. It's something so simple, but people are associating us with having a really fun recruitment booth. There's a picture of us celebrating St. Patrick's Day. We celebrated the eclipse. And then obviously we were at the Branson Chamber Luncheon celebrating the Chiefs partnership. A little bit more celebration. We were at Fire in the Hole opening. The picture in the top middle is there was a step challenge, and you know we're an entertainment company, so all the teams are themed after bands, and so they were like, well, you've got this challenge, and they posted a fun social media video, and it was really fun. We did a Halloween party. We did a picnic at North Beach Park. We figure we're adopting it. We're taking care of it. We might as well celebrate our team there. And then Blanca was our pastry chef. She was recognized as a Servant's Excellence Award from the entire company, and she was actually nominated by Chef Roxanne. So it's really great when your peers nominate you and you're recognized throughout the company. And then one of the biggest changes we made in 2024 is we changed our logo to align with the city and the Explore Branson. You know, it's a beautiful logo. It helps align us with the mission of the CVB and really ties us together as a recognizable brand in the industry. It looks really cool, and I mean, we've got some really great swag out of it. The staff is excited to have the new brand on their uniforms. It looks great on social media. It looks great in ads. You know, this was a fun ad that Jordan and I coordinated called Meetings Are More Fun in Branson. And we invited a bunch of our local partners to be a part of it. And it's been really well received. People understand where we're at and where we're coming from with that logo. And these are our 2025 outlook and goals. To be honest with you, they're almost identical as 2024 because they worked really, really well for us in 24. So we're carrying them over and hoping that they continue to work for us in 2025. That's all I have. Any questions?
You have the same goals, and you bring the same results, you'll get another standing ovation.
Okay. I haven't gotten a standing ovation yet. I was kidding. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from?
Yeah, any questions, Kathy?
Angie, I just want to share this with the public, is you are bar none my favorite monthly meeting. And for the board's information, we meet regularly. We don't just only meet once a month when needs are confronting Angie. She knows she's got an open door policy and takes advantage of that. Angie, what you have brought to this endeavor for the city, and I don't want to sound too corny, okay, but I might, is an unbelievable gust of spring air. Truly.
Yeah,
your enthusiasm, exuberance for the city, your commitment to the community, your different way of thinking about how to generate additional income, all these little things like the coffee bars and the walking tacos and the vending machines, like you said, they sound so basic, but they hadn't been done before. So what you've brought to this community is extraordinary. Your team, second to none. Thank you guys for all of your hard work. And I want to give one last final shout out to the food and beverage folks. But, right, I have gone, I mean, how many times have I said to you, oh my gosh, right? Legit, the spread is gorgeous. It's so much more Ozarks instead of a standard buffet, cookie cutter, you know, chrome and whatever, stainless steel. So what you've brought to that is just an element of the Ozarks that is so warm and inviting, and the food quality right up here. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You only have to tell me once.
And in that light, I mean, when you go to these places, most of the time, not this one in particular, but when you go to convention center stuff, you kind of expect, well, food's going to be what it is. You know, we're there for the event, not the food. But you're right. I mean, the food is so important, part of that element. And also on your first slide, you said you were down 10,000 people compared to last.
16,000.
But you're.
Oh. This one?
People.
Oh, people, yes.
You're down 10,000 people, but your economic impact was up, what, 10 million?
About 12 million.
So you're down 10,000 butts and seats, but up 12 million.
So they're spending more when they're here, and they're staying longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured that out.
You're smart. I like
I just
that.
wanted to recap on that.
I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, you know, because we all know that the convention center, we're pretty much at capacity for a number of events and space and all that. So we've got to figure out how to be more efficient with it, get, you know, people here to either spend more money, stay longer, you know, add travel dates on either end of the conference, call them shoulder dates. That's our goal, is trying to find that business that fits within what we are currently working with.
I had a guy when I moved here in '86 that was kind of mentoring us kids in our show, and I remember him saying, "Now look, y'all they're going to be here for 2 hours, so you need to give them every opportunity you can for them to purchase something." You know what I mean? Because they're there 2 hours and then they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, you can't make them buy something, but you better have plenty of opportunity for them to have a chance to buy something.
Absolutely.
So that's good. That's pretty impressive, down that many people, but the money's up.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And you know, exactly what you just said is, you know, paying attention to what our customers are interested in. That's really kind of going to be the focus of 2025, is are we offering what they're looking for, and how can we put those options in front of them for them to make a
Is that
decision.
Chef Dave?
He is our Director of Food and Beverage, yeah.
So he's in charge of all the good quality food?
Yes, sir.
I'll be dang.
I'll be done.
Do you? That's good to know, because I need that every now and then.
Yeah, we can. We're actually working with Branson Scenic Railway right now on doing stuff for them.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to get your card, man.
We can
We
get
know
you
where
the
to find you.
information.
Okay.
Anything else?
Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, Angie, I just want to say, not only do I appreciate the fact that financially you're turning the thing around, which is obviously great, but it's also obvious how much time you spend in investing in your staff, recognizing your staff, rewarding your staff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's no small part of the success. So I just want to acknowledge what a great job you're doing there.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely couldn't do it without them, and building a great team is so important to success. And like I said, I couldn't do it without them, and I hope that they stay forever.
Yeah. And I appreciate we had the invite from you to attend the archery convention the other day just to see how that thing is literally wall to wall within our facility. There's no more wall space left. So just give us a little highlight on where you think we are in terms of those types of venues that, I know we're talking about how we could and how we might expand the convention center and when, but just give us a quick highlight on how many groups are at risk or at least in serious conversation about those types of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Archery, the MONASP event, that is probably the biggest one because this year they had about 4,000 athletes, and they actually had to tell 500 of additional athletes that made the state qualifications for the scoring that they couldn't come because they were out of space. And that's only going to continue to grow as the sport, I know I was pulling on your heartstrings, Mayor, I'm sorry. But that's only going to grow as the sport continues to gain in popularity. I've kind of coined it as the new pickleball. Like everybody can do it. It's an equal playing field. You don't have to be this amazing athlete. The equipment's all the same. So it's only going to continue to grow in popularity. But overall, I would say we have at least one event a month where they would grow if they could, or they're maybe not in their preferred dates because we don't have their preferred dates because we don't have enough space, or that Jordan will get a call and saying, I'm sorry, we're just too small for you, or same thing, we don't have the dates. So the expansion of the convention center obviously is near and dear to my heart, but the impact of it is, and it's not necessarily just bigger events, which I think is very important, but hosting multiple events at the same time. Right now I might be able to host a conference for 600, but if we expand, I can host 2 500-person conferences. So now we've increased, the attendance by 400 people for that same weekend or that same week. So, I don't like being in a position where I have to turn down business, but it's not just the bigger events. It's multiple events at the same time.
So Glenn and I both attended that archery tournament, and I'd attended for the past several years. And what just a phenomenal event. The sport is so healthy. Like you said, it appeals to everybody, and it's growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So how do you tell 500 kids who qualified to be there that they can't come?
I am lucky enough that I don't have to be that person to make that phone call. So
And
it would be very, very hard.
If I recall the number, there were 2.5 times that number of students that would actually be in attendance, right? Was
Yeah.
the multiplier.
Yeah.
And a conservative multiplier, right? 'Cause
Well, yeah. So they say every athlete brings 2.5 people with them, and then they don't include the grandparent factor for that because, some grandparents travel, some don't. So average athlete, if we're talking 500, 2.5, that's another 1,500 people in the community.
That many more show tickets, that many more restaurant bookings, that many more.
That many more go-kart rides, that many more trips to the restaurants, yeah.
And it would have improved your negative cash
I
flow.
probably could have made
16,000.
16,000 more
Right.
dollars, you're right.
See? I'm just calling the facts as I see
The
them.
numbers don't lie.
No, that's right, that's right.
Of course, these are unaudited numbers. I feel like I do need to say that because we've got to still go through the audit process. But I'm 100% confident in them.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody in the audience wishing to comment? No?
No.
Angie?
Thank you.
Tickled pink. We are really
you all.
lucky to have her. I'll
thank
tell
you.
you
I
what. The
appreciate that.
team you've assembled, yeah.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Thank you all.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation of the fourth quarter 2024 period 12 financials for the City of Branson.
Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. Tonight I have the 2024 year-end unaudited financials. Here you can see our gross sales tax collections for all government funds. Total sales tax increased 1% in 2024, while tourism tax decreased. Here are general fund revenues and expenditures for our 2024 year. You can see that, general fund revenue increased by 1.63% in 2024, while total general fund revenue excluding transfers decreased by 1%. This decrease is explained by the sale of capital assets in 2023 when compared to 2024. Here are general fund revenues, expenses, and then transfers out, which are broken out from our expenses. This graph shows the revenue by source, and this does not include transfers. And then here's all that revenue broken out by what type of revenue it is. Sales tax accounts for 56% of our total general fund
Allison,
income.
go back to the previous 2 slides
Okay.
and let's dwell.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is tourism tax and then all sales tax broken out by public safety, transportation, and general fund. So overall sales tax increased by 1%, while tourism tax decreased for 2024. And then here's our general fund revenues and expenses. Expenses for 2024 were 24 million, and revenue was 27 million. We did have a decrease in revenue in 2024 because of transfers out in this graph, with the ending fund balance in the general fund being 13 million. Here are general fund revenues, expenses, and transfers out. On this graph, we did go ahead and break the transfers out from expenditures so we could tell what actual expenses were compared to transfers out, so we didn't overstate the actual expenses in each fund.
Allison, could you remind everybody what transfers out means?
Yeah, so transfers out are transfers that are going to other funds for those funds to actually expend them and pay towards the invoice. So general fund is supplementing other funds, so the revenue comes into the general fund and then is transferred out to other funds that don't generate as much income or capital projects.
Hold on a sec.
Excuse me, my mind doesn't hear as fast as you're talking.
Yes. Here's our general fund revenue by source. You can see that our sales tax accounts for 56% of total revenue in the general fund, with ad valorem being the second highest income for the general fund at 18%. You can see that charges for services, and we have a couple other small revenue generating income, but not a lot for the general fund. It's really, we bank on that sales tax and the ad valorem tax for the general fund. Here are general fund expenditures by department. We have 13 departments that the general fund covers, and you can see that finance and planning and development are the biggest departments that are expended out of the general fund. Next, we go into public safety. This graph includes public safety, which is total public safety revenue and expenses for fire and police. Public safety fund in 2024, revenues excluding transfers increased by 4.57%, and 2024 total public safety ending fund balance was $5 million.
Okay, Allison, do you want to just go back there again, please?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain why the expenditures in '24 was so much higher
Yep.
than previous?
So you can see the expenditures are higher in this, and we can break it down when we go to the police fund because of the new PD building. So all of those funds were transferred to the capital projects line to cover that project. Here you can see the public safety fund police, and this is just police. The last graph was police and fire. And you can see the huge increase in expenses and transfers out is due to the transfers to the capital project for the new police building.
So, excuse me, Allison, so the transfers out, we budgeted 13 million, we actually transferred 4.2, so then in '25, we will see those transfers that were in the budget spent.
Yep, so we transfer most of our stuff, it follows when the expense is actually made, and then we transfer the funds, which we're working with Baker Tilly to clean all of this up, because then it's hard to track what's been transferred and what's not been transferred. So yes, those transfers will be made in 2025 for the rest of the expenses towards the PD project. Here's the Public Safety Fire Fund. Fire revenue increased by 3.84% over 2023. Expenditures excluding transfers were 33% less than budgeted for 2024. And then capital projects for the fire station included Fire Station 4 and then emergency reporting software. So that's why you can see those transfers out increase to cover those expenses. Here's our tourism fund. 2024 revenues and transfers in are $1,000 greater than 2023. And 2024 ending fund balance was $43 million. We use the tourism fund to cover capital projects. This next slide shows our revenue, expenses, and transfers out. So you can also see on this slide that our transfers out were budgeted way higher than what was actually made in 2024. These transfers are made when the project's actually being done, when the expenses are actually spent in that capital project fund. Here's transportation. Tax revenue and interest income increased 1.86%, and expenditures and transfers out increased by 7.89%. The increase in expenditures is due to capital project transfers. And again, you see that our budgeted was higher than what we actually did because how far we are on those capital projects. (2024) revenues and transfers in for our recreation increased by $1.6 million compared to 2023. 2024 expenditures and transfers out increased by almost $3 million, and this is due to capital projects like the campground project and the turf project. Here's our Parks and Rec Fund, revenues, expenses, and transfers out. So you can see the projects were completed, so we pretty much transferred out everything that was budgeted for 2024. And then I also like to show the revenue sources that our recreation department has. It's hard to get a recreation department that has this many streams of revenue, so I like to touch on it when I can. You can see actually for 2024 that we got a lot of grant revenue to cover those projects, which accounted for 35% of revenue, and then you can see that our campground revenue accounted for a lot of our recreation department revenue.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say too that that's very true, what you're saying about having a parks department that actually generates from these amount of sources. And I imagine tournaments is only going to go up. We have got an incredible director of tournaments. I mean, for the first time, we're actually seeing college teams come into the restaurant that I operate. I mean, it's really incredible. And sports tourism is a really huge deal. With what the campground allows for us to accomplish within the Parks Department is second to none. But those tournaments are at some point, I feel like, going to really up the stakes and maybe be nipping on the heels in some ways of it. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
And then we also have the expenses by type, with tournaments being most of the expenses, and those will go up, but also we have the revenue to cover that because we have so many different streams of revenue in our recreation fund. Here's our water and sewer fund. For our utility fund, 2024 revenues increased by $1 million. Expenditures increased by $2.5 million over 2023, and our ending fund balance is $59 million, but of this balance, $12 million is cash. Then we have it broken out by expenses and transfers out. So you can see that we budgeted expenses at $18 million, and we only came in at $10 million. Here we have the revenue broken out by source, with sewer accounting for 58% of total revenue and water accounting for 36% of total revenue, with a little bit of revenue from other sources, including interest income and intergovernmental transfers. And then here are our expenses by type, with our sewer expenditures being the highest expenditure out of the utility fund. These graphs show our vehicle counts versus our tax revenue. So we like to compare and see the correlation between people traveling into Branson and then our sales tax revenue and our tourism tax revenue. So here you can see each of those graphs. It actually does correlate because for sales tax revenue, we get it 2 months behind from the state. So the business collects it, they remit it to the state in the next month, and then the next month we collect it. And then for tourism tax, the business collects it, and then it's remitted to us the next month. And then here's our tourism tax broken out by class. You can just see it's year over year, and then budgeted numbers are also on these graphs. And then you can see it from 2022 all the way up to 2024. This was included in our previous slides. This is just kind of a breakout by what type of tourism tax.
I'll just make the comment here that I made at the Finance Committee meeting about this, is that I continue to keep an eye on those theater numbers because they're challenging compared to history, and as sort of the bedrock of what we are as a community, it's something, if they continue in that trend, I think we're
Can
going to
you
have to.
zoom in on the theater, make it a little bigger? Is that possible? Chad?
I think we're going to have to keep a closer eye on that to understand what are the underlying dynamics there that's causing that kind of fluctuation.
And these are all cash basis, so we record the revenue when we receive the cash. So we don't have any way of telling that it was due prior month or anything like that, so we can't say that these were receivables, and we're not booking them in advance by any means. We're booking them when we actually receive the cash.
Well, I have many opinions on that, Glenn, and we'll save that for another place.
I think it might help for us, if you could in the future, to potentially show some rolling averages, like 3-month rolling averages in there, just to kind of straighten out any short-term fluctuations from reporting issues and things like that, so we can see the longer-term trend there. It might be interesting.
Are there any questions about the graphs I went over today? That's my last slide, and I know I went through it kind of fast.
Okay, but in fairness, all of this information has been available online since Friday. So her presentation isn't designed to explain everything to us, right? It's a recap and to be able to answer or ask any questions. So when we're, for the public or for the aldermen, right, we've already studied all of these.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Branson, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the fiscal year 2024 budget for the mandatory redemption, waterfall debt service payments, and transfer in various funds.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ben. Ben must be in the
Mr. Hardison.
He's in the sky. You're in the machine, Ben?
Yeah, I'm in the machine. I'm in Chad's computer right there. Annually, we come back to the governing body
second.
to
Can we
go
turn-
through our.
Can we turn him up a little bit? I'm sorry, Ben.
That's right. I
There you go.
appreciate that. Annually, we come back to the governing body to basically do a cleanup amendment for items that we could not have forecasted. The biggest of which is the surplus sales tax that comes in above and beyond the economic development bond payments. So what you've got is for the 2024 amendments, this is actually increasing the budget to be able to pay those, make the transfers and pay the bonds, that extra payment. So the first thing that City Clerk just read was just the facts and reasons for the necessity of the amendment. And the necessity is really centered around the fact that we can't forecast those revenues to the dollar. So we needed to have this amendment. That's the first piece of that amendment. The ordinance next will go into the actual details. So I can handle that now, or we can wait, Mayor.
You know what, I think we can wait on that, but Ben, I'm gonna try to share this and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
When Ben's talking about the waterfall effect, in layman's terms, it's like if it was a business loan and the business agreed to pay the bank X number of dollars per month. The agreement also says if the business does better, some of those revenues go to the debt.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense, what I just said? So
That's exactly right.
So when he talks about the waterfall, it's additional revenues from the business that is going to pay additional debt, which doesn't do anything for cash flows, but it reduces the debt much quicker.
Absolutely.
It'd be like, yeah, that's right, yeah. You're just paying more towards principal, yes. Go ahead, Ben, I'm sorry.
And we've done that for a number of years. Been in a situation that calls for that excess sales tax, the waterfall effect to go into play. So there's been a number of years we've done that and come back to you for these amendments for that matter. The second piece of the amendments within the 24 budget increase is really fully funding some of the projects as we move forward. And again, in this case, it was really the estimate of how much would be spent by the end of the year, which creates a necessity. There really wasn't any way to tell just how much was going to be spent. So we need to increase that money, that budget in order to make the amendment or make the transfer of money.
Yeah. So again, to translate, there's no way to know today what those excess sales are going to be throughout the course of the year. So when we get to the end of the day, we know what those numbers are, and that's what this board is approving, is to honor agreement and take those excess and put it towards the debt.
That's right.
I'll
That's right.
translate for you, Ben.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that right, Allison?
That's the resolution.
So are there any members of the board wishing to address this? Any members in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6530, an ordinance amending the adopted 2024 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for the mandatory redemption, waterfall debt service payments, transfers, and other expenses in various funds.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6530. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, and Ben, you're on deck.
Absolutely. So the second piece of this puzzle is really the ordinance, and it actually walks you through each one of the funds, the buckets of money that needs to be amended, if you will. And within the ordinance, it actually details out each one of the funds and the amounts that go into those funds. So there's around $9.2 million that the budget is increased by. Over half of that is because of those extra sales tax that go to pay bonds. So that's actually a really positive amendment every year.
That's very positive, right? Because they're bringing in much more sales than we
That's right.
anticipated. Yeah. Any questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Is Ben asking for a second read?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Huh? What's the reason, Ben? Timing?
Timing amendment.
I've used that so many times. Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6530 in its final reading due to timing.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. We're voting to approve to have a second read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction to this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6530, an ordinance amending the adopted 2024 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for the mandatory redemption, waterfall, debt service payments, transfers, and other expenses in various funds.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6530. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, this is the final read. Would you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Lucas? Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Branson, Missouri, setting forth the facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025 in various funds due to capital projects and updated 2025 projections.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Ben.
Good evening again. The 2025 amendments are brought to you from the rollover for 2024. So what that means is any unspent capital project money that was already approved for 2024 gets rolled over into 2025 to continue the construction on a project. In this case, it's around $39 million. As you guys all know, that there are plenty of capital projects within the city of Branson. And we fully expected the sheer number of this dollar to be fairly high. You also know that capital projects can bridge multiple fiscal years. In this case, it's the state of Missouri that requires us to amend this 2025 budget. I know myself and our staff, Colby Krasnowski, we've been talking to Allison, and we've got some ideas on potentially setting in place where we wouldn't have to do this amendment anymore, and that would be fully funding those projects at the time that they were actually approved. So that would actually reduce the number of amendments we would have for rollover purposes. So we'll present that this next budget cycle as we start into that.
Yeah, Allison briefed the Finance Committee on making that change to make it just more clear and flow.
That's
better.
right.
Thank you for that, Allison.
Absolutely.
So, any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6531, an ordinance amending the adopted 2025 budget for the City of Branson to increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025 in various funds due to capital projects and updated 2025 projections.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6531. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So, second.
We have a motion and a second, and Ben, what say you?
No additional information, Mayor. If you've got questions, obviously we stand for answers.
You're going to stick with that?
I'm going to stick with that.
Any members of the board have any questions or comments? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6531 for its final reading due to ditto timing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this matter? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this same item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6531, an ordinance amending the adopted 2025 budget for the City of Branson to increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025 in various funds due to capital projects and updated 2025 projections.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6531. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Lucas? Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden? LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution designating a logo to be displayed on the Recplex water tower.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from Kendall. Hello, Kendall.
Good evening, Board, Mayor. The Utilities Department maintenance schedule for water towers includes a complete renovation of the Recplex water tower this year. The renovation includes an exterior painting of the tower with a new logo. 3 options for a new logo are being presented for a resolution of support to deviate from our standard use of the City of Branson logo. I've got some slides here. So the first option was brought forward by Alderman Howden and in support of the Branson Schools mascot. So I have here before you option 1 in the slides, illustrating the Branson mascot. And also we have some, he provided some example of other cities around our area that utilize the school mascots on their water towers as well. And then I wanted to add the logo to a water tower so you have some visual effects, right? And I apologize, it's not the Recplex water tower because I didn't have a good clean picture of it. However, we chose to use our Pacific Street water tower as our example. So you can see the Branson Pirates photoshopped in there as an example.
And so, just for clarity, the water tower this is going on is much smaller than this one.
It is much smaller, yes, yeah. Yes, it's a 300,000 gallon tank, so this is a 1 million gallon an example. So, I do need to add, so we've been working through a fast track timeline on this. The Recplex water tower is scheduled to be drained this Friday. So the renovation will take place next week. It's in conjunction with working with Cindy with our Parks Department and their schedule with sports events and also the filling of the swimming pool. We've got to get ahead of all of our major events and also hit a good weather window to be able to get this done. So we're pressed for time on coming up with a solution for the logo. Been working with our tower maintenance contractor that we annually contract with. And I did get a price as of like 5 o'clock this evening. I got a price on the logos. And there is a charge for going to the Branson Pirate logo. The charge is $21,130 for the Branson Pirate logo. Okay, now the second option, as you guys recently seen in your study session, is the patriotic Branson trademark logo. The second option was brought forward by the city administration, and with all the recent talks of celebrating the country's 25th anniversary, they thought it would be appropriate to bring forward.
250th.
I'm sorry, I got in my notes 250, sorry. So they had thought it would be a great option to bring before the board. And so again, here's the example of what it would look like. And then I've placed it on the water tower as well.
Kendall,
Yes.
so you're saying there's no charge to paint that?
There's a $3,000 template charge.
Oh, so you're paying for the stencil, basically?
Yes.
Or the
Kendall?
setup?
Yes.
Sorry, Clay.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead. I'm done.
Where was the change? Because we had talked last week and there was going to be no cost to the Branson Pirates logo. Do you
That
know
is
when the
correct, yeah.
change?
From the latest information I got from our tower maintenance contractor, as I got through the conversations with them, and we threw in the patriotic logo as well, and they've got to looking at their contract. I'm still working on that negotiation a little bit. I've got some valid justification maybe to cut that cost down for the $21,000. However, I can't promise anything. I just can give you what I have today, and it came up today that it was $21,130 to add the pirate logo. The patriotic Branson logo is very similar to just the black and white version that we've had on other water towers. So there's not much detail it takes to change from the black and white to this blue and red logo itself. And then we also have another option of doing both of them. We could put a logo on each side of the water tower as well. It could be an option. So you'd have the similar cost of the $3,000 plus the $21,130 combined to do option 3. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board?
So I just want to give a tiny bit of a background as to kind of how this kind of came about. So my wife went to college in St. Louis, and when you go to visit St. Louis, you drive on I-44. And of course, the Lebanon Yellow Jackets that we showed on that is very prominent there. And so you can just kind of see the community spirit that community has. Yeah, Kendall's going back. Right, there you go. And they got it all the way down the pipe there. Of course, Ozark, Nixa, Forsyth, the county seat. So, just the idea that there was precedent for this. And then as we started going through this, really over the past, I would say, year or so of painting these water towers, I kind of had identified the idea that if we're going to be painting a water tower, wouldn't it be really cool if we could do something that honored the school? And that really made the kids feel honored as well. We're a one-school town. We don't have Branson North High School and Branson South High School. So the sort of the synergy of having that logo, I think, could do a lot for our school, especially above the Recplex that is, kind of a sports facility. I went and drove to the high school today, and you can see it very prominently, both from the parking lot of the activity center and from the stadium itself. So that was the kind of the generic reason behind coming forward with this and kind of exploring it with both city admin and with Kendall. Then I heard about the idea of doing the Branson patriotic logo, I guess at the end of the day, I'm going to be really in support of option number 3, to do both. I think it's a really cool opportunity that we can honor 250 as well as have the Branson Pirate logo on there and show our kids that we really, really care about them and kind of fit within that precedent of other communities. And so, yeah.
Kendall, because of that size of the water tower, will these logos, will you be able to see parts, or it won't be like what
Yeah.
we like?
They'll scale it.
Proportionate
You
wise.
can see it in one view. You won't have to circle around the tower. They'll actually scale it to where you'll see it. Even the Branson logo, you'll see it in just one place. You wouldn't have to walk around to see that makes sense.
Prominent from here, driving past, all the way past it is what you're saying.
Yeah, they try to space it
Yeah.
out, scale it large enough so that it's that it does provide some panoramic type viewing as you're driving around a little bit, but not too big that it's just completely wrapping around it.
Wonder how much it costs Ozark to put a little power washing on that one right there.
Yeah.
Good night.
To your point, Clay, and I think Cindy will attest to this, that's part of what's going on here, is that water tower needs to be cleaned. It's awfully dirty. Yeah, exactly. Cindy's shaking her head. So just a fresh coat of paint on it in general is going to do wonders for our Recplex. So,
Well, I'll give you my 2 cents. Obviously, the 250th birthday of America is a big deal, and it sounds like we're going to have this town painted from top to bottom, park at every restaurant, hotel. I mean, it's going to be a big deal.
Even the roads?
I think so. I'm going to go paint downtown myself about midnight one night. With paint, yeah. I'm partial to the Branson Pirate thing because my kids are heavily involved in sports. My son's still in high school. And from the time my kid was in 7th grade till he graduated a couple of years ago, now I've got a sophomore, him and all of his buddies used to get really ticked and hurt that they could go to Lebanon, they could go to Bolivar, they could go to Ozark, Nixa, Carl Junction, Carthage, Missouri, all these places, and you roll into town and there's a school flag on every downtown shop. Go Cardinals, go Eagles, everywhere. water towers, the school spirit was insane. But he's like, there's school spirit everywhere but our school, where we're at. He said, I feel like the shows get all the rate. I'm like, well, be careful, son. But to his point, it's not wrong. I mean, this is a different, if we weren't the town that we were and this wasn't a tourist destination, would we even be batting an eye at putting the pirate logo on this water tower? Absolutely not. It'd be just a no-brainer. Well, yeah, we're supporting our school because there's nothing else to do here except get behind the pirates. We have so much deflection with amusement parks and so would our city and theaters and this and that, that's the main focus, and I get it, and I'm thankful for that. What's it gonna hurt to budget $21,000 to give these kids one freaking little water tower? That they can go, man, they do support us. Oh my God, and it's in the perfect location. It's at the Recplex where all the sporting events are. If we want to all these other water towers and we want to put up the Branson, there's plenty of other water towers that's more prominent in the tourist eyes up on the strip. Absolutely, put up that Branson City logo. I mean, I've heard it for years. How come we can't have school spirit and nobody supports us in Branson? I paint my front windows and put pirate stuff on my video display at the theater, and now my kid's a sophomore, the other one's graduated, and these kids are saying the same thing. Nobody puts up a flag, nobody supports us, and we feel like nobody really cares. I just feel like this would be a great starting point to put a pirate logo on a water tower that's in a sporting district. Okay, I'm done.
So Clay, are you
For the pirate logo, Mayor.
just option one then?
Pirate.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Kendall, how long does something like this last? When we do it, are we talking a 10-year life, or what are we looking at?
So typically with the water towers and the paint technology that we use today, we use a very prominent paint that lasts a long time. And it's a Tanemic paint brand is what it is. And they typically say it'll last 10 to 15 years. Now, the beauty of our tower maintenance contract, as long as we contract every year, as the amortization schedule's paid off, so these water towers are amortized over a 5-year period. And so it helps spread our cost out. We're not hitting our ratepayers all at once for a water tower. And that's a big reason why we've been able to do 5 water towers in the last 3 years, and the 5th one being this year. And it allows us to spread our cost out. Well, as we pay those schedules off and we continue with the contract, that annual maintenance cost will dramatically decrease to an ongoing amount. And then that provides us with an annual inspection on towers, provides us with any kind of maintenance issues that pops up. They're on call to come handle them for us, for the lighting, for the aviation. It also includes touch-up of paints, or the paint fails or interior coating fails. They're responsible for coming back at no extra charge other than our annual maintenance cost.
Does that include, I know often, I know often when you paint signage in red has a tendency to fade and faster, and anybody that's had a red tractor certainly will speak to that.
Yeah.
Does that include paint fading, that they will
Yes.
touch that up?
Includes paint fading.
So if this is a 10-year, 15-year life cycle, and I'm just thinking this through, we paint our 250th logo up there, and in a couple of years, we're reverting back to our regular city logo. We keep the new logo forever? Okay.
Which has fading red in it also.
As well, yes, thank you for that. So, we're looking at roughly a 10-year amortization of whatever we're talking about here in terms of these costs of the logos, right? Maybe better, but at least a 10-year.
Yes.
Artie?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to comment one more thing, and I brought this up in our preview session. And I don't want to dissuade from the overall discussion here, but it's going to become an issue here in just a minute, so I want to make this point. I'd ask that in the future, we not present motions to the floor that require for it to proceed that it must be modified. We should never have those kind of motions on the floor. This motion, as it's made right now, we have a motion, a second on the floor to do 3 different things. So to move forward, we can't vote yes or no on our motion. We actually need an amendment to make it happen. And from a parliamentary procedure, that should never happen. I realize that staff is working hard to give us options, to watch costs. I get all that, appreciate it, job well done. I'm just saying, though, from a procedural perspective, I personally don't want to see a motion on the floor in the future that's unusable in the form that it's voted onto the floor.
But Glenn, following this discussion, an alderman is going to make a motion to approve option 1, option 2, or option 3, and then that would be voted on.
That's an amendment to the motion. That's my point. We shouldn't have a main motion that by its very construct requires us to offer an amendment before it's usable. That should never appear to us on this board in that form.
So you're,
Okay, any other alderman have any questions or comment? Artie?
For the sake of discussion, if we vote to amend this motion and option 3 is selected, I'm assuming that what you're talking about is putting the Branson 250 logo on one side and the Pirates on the other?
That is correct, yes.
That being the case, which direction are you going to put what? Because if you're going to put the 250 logo on coming up Branson Hills Parkway from 65, then the only people that are going to see the Pirates logo are the kids and the parents coming down from 248 Branson Hills intersection.
So currently, right now, there's a logo on the north side and a logo on the south side.
So the north side would be facing the high school.
That's correct.
And that's where you would put the pirate logo, facing the school. Is that right?
I would leave that open to a direction from the board, of what
Okay.
direction you want,
well, if
north or
it's
south
the
side.
one that's facing south, who's seeing that one?
The one that's facing south, you'll see it from Highway 248 area, like
Yeah.
up from Table Rock Asphalt property. As you start to clear the trees there, you'll see it as you come down Branson Hills Parkway. You'll see the backside of it.
As well as we're about to put some really cool new bike trails back there.
That's correct.
And let's say one of them was going to go on the south side. I think either of them could create some really interesting theming for those bike trails, right? Let's say if the 250 was on the back side, then you have the American Trail, the Patriot Trail, right? In the reverse side, you could have the Pirate, the Buccaneer, and so I also think it would be neat, even if the Pirates were on the backside of it, you have some really neat drone shots of a drone flying right by that thing, going right into the stadium. Like I said, I did go out to the stadium today. The front-facing view of what's on there now is actually more front-facing from like the parking lot of, from the parking lot of the activity center. When you move further to the actual stadium itself, you're actually looking at one of those poles. Now, I don't know if we want to paint, because, clearly you're seeing 4 sections of that tower. It's being divided by poles, right? In order for it to be facing the stadium, you would actually need to take that logo and move it basically to where that pole is right there.
So this is the south logo.
Oh, that's the south side, okay. But flip, the same thing I'm saying, flip it around, and what I'm saying still rings out. If you were to put it, if we were to do more of an east-west orientation, then, let's say coming from 248, you have the 250 logo, and then coming from 65 up that way, you can see that from the stadium. It's slightly off but currently right now the logo is slightly off essentially. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I had one other quick question, Kendall. So I don't see a budget amendment in front of us right now. So, I mean, is it safe to say that within that, I guess, subscription service, I don't know what to call it necessarily, but we have the funds essentially available. We wouldn't have to necessarily do a budget amendment.
So,
even if, yeah.
so currently, we budgeted for 2025, $485,000, and the current contract we have is $463,000. So we have $22,000 left on the table right now, so.
Kathy?
Okay. I need to respond to Alderman Schultz to your criticism of how we presented this to you tonight. And I don't often do this in a public setting, but I think this is a classic example of no good deed goes unpunished. What we try to do here at the staff level is to consolidate as much and give you options and information from which to draw logical conclusions that are in the best interest of the city. And so because it doesn't comply within the four corners strict of Robert's rules or parliamentary procedure, I hope you all can appreciate the amount of work that it takes when we get an idea from an elected official or a member of the public, the amount of staff time that we take to pursue information, to get it by deadlines. On this particular issue, we have a hard deadline because this was already a project in the works. And I appreciate the idea. I think it's super fly fun, right? Whichever way you guys decide, I don't have a dog in this fight. But I didn't appreciate that. I thought it was unkind and unfair, frankly, to criticize us for not falling right within the confines when all we're trying to do as staff and administration is to oblige and to indulge different ideas and suggestions for the city, and we do backflips to do that, absolute backflips in the city government to do that. So I would hope you'd appreciate we were creative about this. We tried to do it, we did it lawfully, but I understand procedure is a big deal, and I'm not, disrespecting that, but I just wanted to get our side out this time. There's been other critiques that are not that dissimilar, and I just felt it was important to my staff and the work we put into all of this and how we try to please all of you all the time that you can appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
I have a question. Oh, sorry, did you want to follow up?
No, go ahead.
Glenn, Kendall, the logo, regardless of which one you went with, that whatever that fee may end up being, that's a one. You're just making the stencil. It's not 21,000 per or 3,000 per side. That's just a setup fee to get the stencil made or whatever, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Do you have something, Ruth? Did you want to say something?
Sure. First of all, thank you for the options. I'm glad we weren't just presented with one person's idea. I know it took a lot for staff to put all this together in a very short amount of time, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. How many, just thinking off the cuff here, how many towers does the city have that could actually have the new, beautiful, patriotic, I love it logo on it?
So we have 8 water towers in total. I have one water tower that I have not done anything with, and that's the high tower, and that's located there at Stanley and Bar Harbor, kind of behind the Gars, or Dalton's gas station there. That tank, my plan, or my future master plan, is to actually replace that tank, demolish it, take it down, and replace it with a new water tower similar to, my clicker's quit working. Similar to the Pacific Street Tower, as well as the Landmark Tower at 76 and in Fall Creek. And so the idea is that will give us more pressure, more volume of water for the area of Fritz Adventure all the way up to Walmart area, improve some fire flow issues that we're having in those areas. So we'll have that, hopefully, if we get supported on that as part of the whole 76 project and everything, it'll help convey water better through the city. We'll have that new water tower. But so the other 7, we just went through, now the Recplex will be finishing up our 7, are complete renovations. So these tanks have all been, in the last 6 years, have all been refurbished interior and exterior, and new logos put on them. So to go back and change the logos out, we'd have to negotiate with our tower maintenance contractor a cost of remobilization and what would it look like to come back in. And if you wanted to do the 250th logo, it matches up with the existing trademark logo that's black. I wouldn't imagine it would take much to recolor that without having to paint the whole thing white again, right? I think we could come back and they can repaint just that section of it, and so we may get a better cost at it. But there is a mobilization fee, of course, of coming in, because it takes a special crew to hang off those water towers and to perform that work.
So without the mobilization fee, because you're going to need it for any painting of any water tower, correct?
Can you restate that? I'm sorry, I missed that first part.
Well, you're saying the mobilization fee of having someone come in, that's above and beyond the 21,000 or the 3,000?
Yes, correct, because they're going to already be here for the Recplex renovation, and so the 21,000 was like a bare bones cost for that pirate logo.
Okay. And then just one comment I wanted to make. All of the towers that we see on the screen, those are all cities that do not have any tourism whatsoever. So I think that's a great idea that they put the school theme on them. My kids graduated from Branson, and so I understand wanting to have the pirate on. However, my heart just really goes out to having our red, white, and blue patriotic logo. That's just how I'm looking at it.
Artie, what's your thoughts? Either one, two, or both?
Well, in looking at these water tower options that are up there, they have their city, I guess it's their logo, and their school all in the same logo. Yeah, could we have the red, white, and blue 250th above and the Branson Pirates below?
So the time is of the essence right now, right?
Yeah, we're at a real,
And I don't have that option at this point because, again, they're going to.
this idea came up late.
Yeah,
They were ready to pull the trigger,
Yeah.
so we need to,
Now, the only other option would be, and it would cost more dollars because they would paint the tower and they would pull off and go to their next tower and then they'd have to remobilize back in here. So there'll be additional cost
Yeah.
to come up with a new design and to remobilize.
Okay, Ralph, what are you thinking? What's your thought?
Boy, I got some mixed emotions on this because I too have multiple kids that graduated from Branson and all participated in sports from volleyball to track and field and everything in between. And so I could definitely, kind of empathize with the spirit of the school and whatnot. I think the thing that I'm having the hardest trouble with is like the price increase on doing that. Simply because, we always talk about fiscal responsibility and things like that, but then, then I kind of waffle back to, you can't scale spirit, the spirit of what that would mean for those kids, because I too, like Clay, had that same experience of going in those communities and seeing those towers with those school logos and different things like that, and knowing that, we didn't really have one,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So this is something where I'm still kind of waffling on it. I think it's going to come down, right to the end as to how I feel about it. But
Okay, we're
I know there's
getting
a level
really
of-
close to the end.
yeah, I understand. The end is near, Revelations. No, I think it's important. I think it's, I'm emotionally driven by the pirate logo. But I'm also, driven by, what's important for the city and moving forward and the longevity of it and things like that. It's almost like a 15-year tattoo, We're going to put it up there and it's going to be up there till it comes time to re-maintenance these towers again. So,
Well, that was clear as day.
Mayor, can I say one more thing and then I'll stop?
Sure.
I think it is important for the city to support our kids in our school and show that we support them. It's one tower in a sporting district. I totally agree with what Ruth said. That would be beautiful. So let's put it up on the water tower on the Strip where all the tourists see it. And let's put that one in where there's more tourists. I mean, most of those people out there is going to be local folks or ball players that are coming in to play at the Recplex, which are ball players, which is supporting the Pirates. And I don't think if that fee is $21,000 or if it's $15,000, I don't think that's asking too much to show a little bit of school spirit for the Branson Pirates. So if I can make a motion, I'll make a motion.
Before you do, I'm going to muddy this up just a little bit. So what you're saying, because of the location of that water tower,
I think it's perfect.
do you think that logo should be on both sides?
I do.
So with that, Kendall, the question is, I understand the 21-130, is that for the template?
No, that'd be for the pirate logo, if
So
we wanted to put it on both sides.
So it would be another 21,000 for the other side?
No, that's combined, yeah, for both sides.
The 21-130 is for the pirate logo on both sides? Okay.
And then if you did one on each, then you're just paying even more money because you got 21 plus the 3 on the other side.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
say one thing, and it's kind of a little bit off, but it's directly related. The school that I graduated from in northeast Kansas, back when we used chalkboards, in 1967, we were called the Blue Streaks. That school burnt down. Then we consolidated, so the school's not there, the logo's not there, and the water tower that it was gone is not there. So I think while you have the opportunity, do it. Support your kids.
So to summarize, are you looking at just the pirate logo and not the 250? Okay. So that's clear as mud. So,
Mr. Mayor, I have a parliamentary question.
yes.
Please. If there was a motion made that said, just do the Branson school mascot logo, and then that were to fail, could there be a motion made that said, do both?
Yes.
Mayor, I move to amend the resolution by selecting Exhibit 1, Branson School mascot logo, as the logo designation for the Recplex water tower and removing all other exhibit options.
We have a motion and a second. Any other alderman would like to speak to this motion? This is a pirate logo on each side of that water tower. Correct, Kendall?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? Then let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
A roll call vote, please. Madam
Lucas? Denham?
No.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
So the result of the vote is 5-1, the nay being Alderman Denham.
There you go.
Thank you.
Kendall, that was easy.
I get it. So, Mayor, that was just a roll call on the vote for the amendment. Now we need to come back and vote on the resolution as amended. Just one more vote. It's already on the floor. And that is the resolution as amended with Exhibit 1 Branson School mascot logo and then removing all the rest of the exhibits.
So we just voted to approve number 1.
Correct, and that was an amendment to the resolution. So you have a motion second on
I
the
see.
floor. Yeah.
So now what do you want to do?
We just need to call for a vote on the resolution as amended.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on,
Yeah, you have a motion second. We just have to call for the vote. All those in favor.
Call for any discussion and then a vote.
any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is the public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6532, an ordinance repealing Section 94-11 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to tree preservation.
We'll now open a public hearing and begin with the staff report from Holly.
Good evening.
Hi.
I have a presentation. We'll see if I can hit it. There we go. First step, I'm here for you for 2 meetings. Hopefully both of my propositions are much shorter. For the public hearing regarding the repealing of Section 9411 tree preservation, this is part of our deregulation, looking at red tape process to ensure that we are utilizing the appropriate ordinances and we don't have ordinances that we aren't really using. 9411, we are proposing the omission of the entire section. In it, we are deregulating based on feedback from development in Branson. It was a common response that we were hearing as a complaint. Trees are not being abandoned by Branson. They are still addressed in stormwater protections, which trees are a very important aspect of the stormwater protections. In the remaining areas of the landscape article, which is in Chapter 94, land disturbance, also in Chapter 94, BMPs, which protect stormwater runoff and provide erosion control, as well as drainage consideration in all developments and open space dedication. This is a means to find a balance between regulation and a desire for development. This went to the Planning Commission on March 4th and was approved unanimously. We are asking, and the staff is recommending approval.
So any members of the board wishing to speak to this?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, anti-red tape, anti sort of the regulatory state is a really big deal for me. And I want Kathy and Alex to both hear this, and I want you to know this is not a political comment. The fact that we have an administration that is willing to put something like this forward is just incredible. I mean, it speaks to our value set. I mean, this is a dream. I mean, cities don't do this, remove this much regulation. And I mean, I've had people that in my ward that wanted to remove a tree from the front of their daughter's window that was blocking her beautiful view. And he was just like, why do I have to pay $50 for that? And I don't know that it was the $50, it was the sentiment of it, It's funny. I've thought about this in the past. It's like, this isn't Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. That's the second Lorax reference I've had as an alderman, by the way. Nobody wants to just get rid of trees willy-nilly. No one wants to do that. And the respect that this administration has for both developers and citizens alike to even put something like this forward is exactly why I supported every single person that sits up on this dais. So I just want to say that.
Any other?
No, that's exactly what that was good. Amen, Marshall, on that tree thing.
We are asking for a double read on this tonight.
You need to get through
because
the
of
first one.
I know, but
you
but
don't
I'm
even have the
feeling the
first
love,
one.
and so
You're-
while I'm feeling the love,
We don't
I'm
get
going
the
to
first
bask
one
in it and
done,
ask my
there won't
next.
be a need for a second. Any other aldermen have any questions or comments? Hearing none, let me check here.
See how I made it
Anybody in the
efficient?
audience wishing to speak to this? So I will now close the public hearing. And you've heard the first reading of Bill 6532. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any board member wish to speak to this? Any member of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wow, don't yell. All opposed? All opposed, same sign? Apparently, ayes have it.
Well, because we're all loving Holly, I move to read Bill number 6532 for its final reading due to, what, Kathy? Yeah, timing.
Do I have a second? So we have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience wishing to speak to this? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is a final read. Do we need to do a roll call vote?
So that was just to read it for the second
Oh,
time.
read it for a second, I'm sorry.
No worries.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. So, Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this final read?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6532, an ordinance repealing Section 94-11 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to tree preservation.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6532. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to address this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to kind of echo what Marshall said and what Clay kind of followed up with, and that it really does give the power to the residents to be personally responsible for their property, which ultimately that's all they ever wanted. And when you have these redundant things, it does put a kind of a chokehold or a restraint on the community. And even though we're taking this out of the ordinance, there's still that check valve safety measure in place. So it ensures that things aren't going to run amok. And just a kudos to staff to continually look at those things and making sure that, property rights are valued, and then there's protections in place where the city's concerned and things like that. So thank you guys for everything you do and the time you put into it. And it's definitely worth it. And this is exactly what Marshall said, why we're up here and what we ran on. And that transparency and that responsibility is crucial.
Thank you, Ralph. I agree 100%. Telling somebody if they're going to cut a tree down in their backyard, it's going to cost them $50. Feels like Big Brother.
Or you had to replace it with, right, yeah.
So, any members of the audience wishing to speak? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call, please?
Lucas? Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is the public hearing and first reading of Bill number 6533, an ordinance approving a zoning change from agricultural to high-density residential for a portion of the property located at 598 Animal Safari Road, Branson, Missouri 65616.
We'll now open up the public hearing and begin with a staff report from Holly.
Good evening. This is my second request. This is a rezoning from agriculture to high density at 598 Animal Safari Road. This is what I'm asking you to welcome into Branson, luxury apartments. Aren't they beautiful? And do you see the trees? Without the regulation, we're still putting them up.
I'm gonna cut them all down.
Okay. What this request is for a rezoning of property that you will see in this, let's see if I can make it. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be able to. But it's to the left of the screen is the area that is getting the rezone. On the other side is that which already exists. To change a zoning, it has to be done by ordinance. We advertise it for both Planning Commission and here. This gives you an idea of orienting where within Branson this area of development is, a little bit closer. These are your views of how it currently exists from the north and west, south and east. You see the lovely lake that's in the photographs. This is the existing land use, which is agriculture. This is the current zoning of agriculture. You'll see the blue next to it is a planned development to show you the 2030 preferred land use. It did not have high-density residential, which is needed for this luxury apartment area. It is designated as mixed use, which is live, work, pedestrian friendly, which is not really as compatible as HDR. HDR did not exist in the 2030 plan. This gives you an idea of the plan in regards, it's outlined in like the magenta. This is the rezoning for the waterfront, which we're asking for. This, you will see a weird notch out on the bottom. That's for part of the street and utility area. This is taking out from Lot 1 and Lot 2. It bumps out into another lot adjacent to it. So this will require a final plat, a preliminary and final plat. We are asking that you put that as a condition of the rezone, that they perform the final plat. So we're wrapping it all together. We're ensuring that we're making this design and we're seeing it to fruition. They are the ones developing the neighboring apartment complex that already is, and they own the remainder, the woods that you see in the background. This is the zoning request that is supported by staff. The zoning change shows you the outline of it. And this is really what we want to see, right? Come on. I do have Ricky Haas here to speak in regards to the plans. He is from Olson, and they are the engineers on the case, and he'll take a podium. And this was sent to the Planning Commission. It was a unanimous vote in favor of adding this to Branson.
All right, good evening. My name's Ricky Haas. I'm a civil engineer by trade. I'm with Olson. My address is 550 East St. Louis in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm representing the developer. If we could go back to the site plan. So what we're proposing on this rezoning is 224 units of apartments. All of them are one bedroom and two bedroom units over 35 acres. And so the density you're looking at is roughly 7 units per acre, which is quite low. And so I'll give you a little bit of background on the development. So the developer owns the eastern portion here as well. That is outside of the rezoning boundary that we're talking about. The time frame to construct the eastern portion would be later this summer into fall, starting construction. This eastern portion includes 160 units over 15 acres. And then the part that we're talking about rezoning is 224 units on about 35 acres. Time frame on this would be to start construction Q1 of 26 if all rezoning and platting is approved. We're in the process of creating the preliminary plat right now, so I'll likely be in front of you guys again once that it's the agenda. We plan to, both of these developments use access on Preserve Drive, and you access this development this direction, and then we plan to construct a road across here. There's a dam that is holding that lake in place, and so we're doing the engineering to get a road across there. All utilities are available at the site. We have water main, sanitary main. The existing 3-acre lake is going to be used for stormwater detention as well, so that it's a multi-use amenity as well as detention. These are definitely high-end apartments. Like I said, they're all 1 and 2 bedrooms, so the tenants that they're targeting are typically retirees or young professionals that maybe haven't started a family yet, and like retirees trying to downsize. And so the the developer wants to put as many amenities as they can get, really, as we can fit on the property. So you can see sports courts. We're going to have trails that loop around the lake. We've got a clubhouse, one for each side, so there's 2 total clubhouses. You saw the rendering of a infinity pool they plan to do as an amenity, and pickleball courts. Yeah. So the developer plans to own this long-term and utilize a property management company, so this isn't something they're just going to flip and then, let run into the ground. It's something that's going to be upkept well. Total investment, the eastern portion is roughly a $25 million project. The western portion that we're talking about rezoning is about 35 to 40 million. So the developer is looking to invest about $60 million into the community and housing. I think that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Ricky, what are the projected rents?
They're on the higher end. I want to say they were roughly around $1,500 a month.
Okay. But it includes so many amenities.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
And they're providing those amenities on both sides. So that those amenities don't get overwhelmed by the number of units too.
Any members of the board wishing to have questions?
Yeah, okay, the first question is, so there's going to be no ingress and egress off of Animal Safari Road?
So the off of Animal Safari, no, it's all off of Preserve Drive.
Got
This is the main access to that western side here.
Got it.
We're not able to connect in any other direction due to elevation change and floodplain and that sort of thing.
That's good, because that's a pretty treacherous road when the weather gets in bad at all. So, I just want to speak to the price a little bit. I'm usually more on the side of, affordable. We've talked about that at length up from this dais, but I have to say, I live at the Preserve, and you have one of the best views in Branson. So, these are really going to be, I think that we need a mix of all kinds of housing. I don't know if you want to call it luxury or, more kind of on the higher end for people that can afford it, as well as the affordable. So that doesn't really give me any pause, even though I've kind of had that consideration in the past, so.
Sounds good. Yeah, my understanding, there's a pretty lengthy wait list on the existing apartments as well. So just trying to build off of that momentum.
Anybody else? Ruth?
I just want to say thank you so much. The presentation that was made at Planning and Zoning was so thorough. I'm excited for this project to come through. We definitely need this type of housing. Another thing I really want to comment on is that although you could max out the density, that's not going to be done. It's preserving the beauty and providing housing, which we need. The word affordable is just, it's hard to put that in a sentence because that may be extremely affordable for retiree or 2-income, no children moving in. So I'm very excited about this project. I cannot wait to see it get developed. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Thank you.
I agree. Anybody else? Any members of the audience have any questions or comments? I'm now closing the public hearing. You've heard the first reading of Bill 6533. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Your Honor, this
No,
is,
I meant Ricky. I said who I wanted to say. And Holly, thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6534, an ordinance appointing a member to fill a certain vacancy on the City of Branson Tax Increment Financing Commission.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6534. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Hillary.
So Betsy McConnell has resigned from the TIF Commission, and the item before you is to fill her unexpired term with James Jewsbury until November 2025. And I know it might come as a shock to you, but we are requesting a double read on this item as well.
What?
I know it.
Let's get through the first one. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Marshall,
Good choice.
great choice.
I'm going to ditto Marshall again.
Wow, a lot of dittoing going on up here. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this?
Mr. Mayor, I just wonder, since we have the candidate here, if you'd like to say anything?
Nope. Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6534 in its final reading to get this replacement filled quickly, promptly.
Wow. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anyone in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6534, an ordinance appointing a member to fill a certain vacancy on the City of Branson Tax Increment Financing Commission.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6534. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second, and third. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members of the audience? It's a second and final read. Hillary, provide a roll call vote, please.
Lucas? Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is appointments. This appointment process is in accordance with the board and committee appointment procedure for Category 5 appointments made by the mayor with approval of the Board of Aldermen. Mayor, please announce your slate of appointments to be voted on.
The appointments to the Branson Hills Infrastructure Facilities Community Improvement District with terms expiring in June 2028. Robert Davis, Jerry Givens, and Mac McGregor. Those are the three that are on the committee today, and the board requested those three remain on the board. The appointments to the Branson Commerce Park Community Improvement District with terms expiring in June 26 is Butch Lomax and Joseph Boyd, and with terms expiring in June 28, Kelly Trimble and Bob Hills. Again, the Branson Commerce Park said these four are currently on the board and they would like them to be extended. Do I have a motion approving this slate of appointments?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
As I think we're aware, both of these SIDs fall in Alderman Lucas and my ward. And they are two SIDs that we get questions from our constituents in terms of when are they meeting, what are they voting on, how can I get elected to the board, those kind of questions. So it would be my preference before since none of these people are represented here today, before we vote these people into the board as our representatives on this board, I'd propose that at least Alderman Lucas and I meet with these individuals to discuss the requirements of open meeting laws, reporting to the state auditor requirements, and other discussions that come up from constituents and concerns that I have. And also, I take note that there is a certification process required for candidates to serve on these CIDs, and that certification process has not been completed. For those that are representing other business interests in the district, we do not have their notarized copies of representation and so on. So I don't think we're actually prepared at this point to approve these items. So with those thoughts in mind, I'd move that we postpone this agenda item until our May 13th Alderman meeting, which would be plenty of time to take action and have continuity on these boards. So moved.
I second.
We have motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr.
Ruth?
I'm not sure, so this is why I'm asking. But wouldn't it be the responsibility of maybe our city attorney or city administrators or mayor to go through the rules and regulations of what's required on, no? Okay.
It's worth noting that this is once, and I'm sure you know this better than anybody, but just to state it, once we create a CID with our approval, that they become an independent form of government, just like a city. So our only hook here, as it were, is through these representatives, and before appointing them, to ask that they act in the interest of the city with things like, proper posting of meetings, agendas for those meetings, proper filing with the state auditor and Secretary of State, those kinds of things. And I think it would be helpful for them because they probably, in the scope of the work that they do as obvious volunteers, that they don't get the formal training that we all get in those matters, and yet they're subjected to exactly the same regulations that we are as aldermen.
So you're saying it'd be nice to vet these people and get to know them a little bit before you just put them in a position like that?
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about getting to know them in this case because they've obviously served in the past. I would look at it more along the line of what Alderman Howden has done with the TCED representatives, where he's organized meetings with them, talked about the objectives of the city, some of the things that we would like to see. I see the same kind of role here, and I'm just volunteering. Maybe other aldermen or even staff would like to participate, but I spoke with Alderman Lucas in advance of the meeting, and he and I are both interested in sitting down with these representatives to have those discussions.
Holly or Solon, do you have any input for the board on this?
So I'd be more than happy to vet the candidates to make sure that they qualify. We could, get their information, make sure that they're, within the boundaries, residents or business owners, whatever the requirements are. Obviously, we can't do that tonight, but if that's a concern, then we can do that. I mean, if they've served on these boards before, they may have been vetted before, but I guess they could have moved or sold businesses or whatever.
Kathy?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with aldermen wanting to sit down with members of CID boards, but I will tell you, our lane in city government is very limited. We aren't, and I mean, if they want to come in and ask questions of us, that's okay, but this is a statutorily state-sanctioned body that it would be like as if we decide to go in and educate school board members or educate, different governmental entities. So I'm always very cautious about us staying in our lane of municipal government. We don't have people here that can train people how to be a CID board member. That's just not what we do. But again, if you guys want to take time and you want to have that meeting with the CID board members in your ward, certainly you have that prerogative.
But Kathy, is there a concern that if we took that role, if aldermen took that role versus our attorney, that we may be providing information that is maybe not accurate? Because I know on the Branson Hills board, the letter that was sent to me was signed by their attorney. And I don't know that I want our aldermen going and counseling their attorney on what's legal.
And that could be something you guys can all consider. But additionally, I would say, I don't know that the city should be in the business of giving legal advice to another separate government entity, because that could raise some concerns as well. So I'd rather stay in our lane of municipal government, and the role that we play according to state statutes is the one that you're charged with tonight. Right? Yes. Or to bless the appointments. So But again, open to discussion.
Marshall?
So I actually see a bit of a hybrid on this of, I actually think it would be appropriate, I think more to what you're saying, for our city attorney perhaps to address these. I don't see, when it comes to Branson Hills infrastructure, Branson Commerce Park, I don't see direction necessarily coming from this board as far as how they should vote on the SID and things along that line. I do see direction perhaps from our legal about reporting requirements, transparency and things because of what Glenn has been talking about with kind of this idea of ghost SIDs and the lack of information that we have on that. So because these are our appointees, I think this is, from what I've understood from Glenn, is that the only opportunity really for us, if the idea is to bless these, that we just want to make sure that we're blessing these SIDs that are following all the statutory requirements, since these are our appointees.
But when you say that, Marshall, they're to adhere to state regulations, not city regulations. So now we have a city going to a board advising them on state law when their attorney is the one who has sent the request to put these people back on the board.
Is there a state regulatory agency for SIDs?
It's, the SID are,
They're a political subdivision, separate political subdivision, and subject to most of the things, at least from a sunshine law, all the things from a sunshine law
Okay.
perspective that we are as city. My point in this is this. I get complaints from our citizens that they can't find meeting notices, that meeting notices are only provided inside of a private business. And so our citizens are frustrated that they cannot attend the SID meeting, which is supposed to be a public meeting, just like our meetings, to be able to listen, to voice their concerns, and when it comes time to vote for appointees, that they're not afforded that opportunity to participate in that action. It's also very clear in one of these SIDS cases that they are deficient in what they're reporting to the state auditor and that they're in default of the bonds that they're supposed to be paying back. Yet we are that political subdivision is charging our taxpayers for that privilege. And I think it's time that we get some of the story that we're due about what's really going on there through our representatives. These are our appointed representatives on the board. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about an appointment of them. They are our representatives. I think as aldermen in that ward where we have constant complaints from citizens, I would like to talk with these representatives, explain the concerns that our citizens have, and ask them to consult with their attorney about what the right actions are so that we can stop these complaints from our citizens. I think it's a very reasonable process before we make these appointments.
Solon, you have any 2 cents?
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. So I wasn't saying that we would provide counsel to the SIDS. We wouldn't do that. What I was saying is I would provide counsel to the board on whether or not these people were proper to appoint as far as like the minimum qualifications to be able to be appointed to those boards. And so I think it would be similar to, I think what Glenn's saying would be similar to like a Supreme Court Senate Judiciary Committee hearing where they're coming before them and making promises that they will or won't do certain things. But what I'm saying is, I can give counsel on, how the President of the United States nominates them in the first place. Once they're nominated, though, if they're nominated appropriately, we wouldn't have any say to them after they've been put on the board. So I think he's just wanting a commitment from them in the nomination process that they will abide by these things. But of course, once they're on, they can do whatever they want.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I understood right, when this whole issue came up tonight, these people were offered up as candidates by the board.
Correct.
So the board is the one that nominates.
Yes.
And second question is that And Solon, you can give me clarification on this. One of the people that is up for nomination to the Commerce Park Board was the person that was the real estate agent for the crypto mining people that wanted to go into Commerce Park. That seems almost like a conflict of interest.
Okay, so to stay in our lane, we have a current motion and a second from Alderman Schultz that says the motion is to postpone this until the, what date was it? Glenn?
May 13th.
So the motion that's on the floor right now that we're considering is to postpone this to the May 13th Board of Aldermen meeting. Well, they're all under one. Yep. So is that correct, Glenn?
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
a yes is to postpone and a no is to not. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Kathy?
I just want to be clear on what is the expectation of our team, so that I understand. So if you guys are going to do this on your own,
I think all we'd ask is perhaps the use of a conference room to be able to have a meeting.
happy to oblige.
Oh, snacks?
Question.
Ralph?
I can direct you to Glenn, right?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So you've had complaints from your constituents over and over again. What have you done to address this board current to date?
Well, if I could find the meetings, I'd attend them, just like I do all the other SID meetings in the city.
Okay,
And I
so-
think the mayor and
so then my
Kathy and
question-
others can
So I guess
show.
my question is, what have you done to ensure that that happens?
Yeah, I've tried to find the meetings, Ralph. You cannot find the meetings.
Can you find the people?
And
Can
I
you
will
find the
also,
people?
I will also direct some of this to Hillary. What's your experience in communicating with these organizations? Please answer.
They're not always responsive when I send them emails. They are sometimes. It's very inconsistent.
I guess my question was, have you reached out to these gentlemen?
Yes, I've reached out to the extent I can, and you might also recall we had these same issues when they were required to submit their proposed budgets to the aldermen for review, and they didn't even do that on a timely basis. Yeah, I'm happy to cooperate as I'm demonstrating here, but I have no cooperation on the flip side.
Okay, so back to where we were. We have a motion and a second to postpone this bill to the May 13th Board of Aldermen meeting. I dare ask, are there any other questions? Any questions from anybody in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Do you need anything else, Hillary?
No, sir. Thank you.
We're to the report section of the meeting. Alderman Lucas, share some words of wisdom.
In the beginning, I am just continually amazed with the level of cooperation that we have on this board. I think that all of us at some point in time get frustrated with somebody else. But I think that we all leave at the end of the night as friends. And I learned a long time ago that you have to learn to agree to disagree agreeably. And so I want to thank each and every one of you and appreciate all that you do for our city. Excuse me. I appreciate, I got my tangle tangled up. I want to say how much I appreciate our staff, our administration, and all they do. And I know that sometimes they get frustrated with us. but I've bit my tongue on a few things too. You know that, Kathy. But no, thank you, and I look forward to working with you in the future. And I appreciate working with you, Larry.
Thank you, Artie. Appreciate you. Ruth?
I'm going to ditto what
Ditto.
what
Not a
Alderman
ditto.
Lucas said tonight, but I like tonight's conversations that took place. I think that I learned a lot tonight, and I appreciate sitting with everyone on the board, and I think that we have the best mayor and city administrator and staff that any city could ever want. So, thank you, guys.
Aw. Can you beat that, Clay?
Well, I'm not saying ditto, but I do. I had something can Michael come down a second, or no?
Sure.
Michael,
Come on down, Michael.
Michael Woods? I just like making him get up. Well, first I want to say thank you for how quick you moved on the pedestrian signs. That was, like I sent an email, it was like the next morning they were up. The next morning. I mean, like by 9, like boom, there's the pedestrian signs. And I just think that's a great added safety measure for the people using those crosswalks. So thank you for that. Second thing is, I saw another wreck today at the Yakov coming on there. And I know I brought this up a while back, and you were going to reach out to, I know the whole process, MoDOT and this and that, and that's a private road. Has there been any word, or maybe I could have just asked Kathy this, has there been any follow-up or anything about what we could possibly do to make that any safer at all?
Sure. So MoDOT did a traffic study in December, and they're doing some analysis work on what the turning radiuses and entrances there are there. As you know, they're also redoing all the entrances and the sidewalks up there at the same time. They also did some traffic improvements over to the school, and they said they would get back to us with a full-fledged plan this spring. So they're moving right along at the speed of MoDOT.
I love it.
Speed of MoDOT.
Well, good job, man.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words for our staff that we really have tried with the crosswalks. And, you know, we really are, when we're working on 76, we have a better plan for the sidewalks, and it's on its way. And this is one of the things we can do today. And people don't like them, then they may hit them with their car, but it's better to hit a plastic cone than hit a person. So I think it's a great thing that we're doing. And
it may not be the end all, but I'm telling you, it absolutely is a great start to making that a safer.
Sure.
And just, I don't know, anytime I've ever, well, with anybody, but it seems like I always have stuff for Michael, and it's just like always just,
Yep.
I mean, seriously, it was like 8 o'clock at night. I thought it was your cell phone, but it's Matt's, I guess.
But we all answer each other's. And
Okay, he goes, well, this ain't Michael, but I'll let him know. And I drove to work at 9:30 the next morning, like, there they are. Dude, that's quick.
We work together. I love my team.
That's quick.
Couldn't do it without them.
Okay, thank
Clay
you.
and Mayor, if I could say, it's not just that the aldermen are calling to ask them to do things when they do it like that. Even when I ask, which is very appreciated, and other staff, they get on it right away. It's pretty amazing.
No, it really is. I mean, and when I see feedback on social media about what they doing, it's baloney, because I see it right here. So, yeah. Thank y'all.
You're
I'm done.
exactly right. I'll go out of turn and say ditto. Marshall?
Hey, our social media is really popping right now. That's kudos to Maria, I would say. Not that it's not been good in the past, but I mean, gosh, some of the recent posts have just been really a lot of share. Now, some cool items, the downtown stuff with the gateways and some of the stuff about 250, some neat stuff. But, social media, I've always said, is an art and a science, and it's not just about putting stuff out there and hoping people see it, but the more successful our social media is, the better communication / transparency, which is important to all of us, is to our citizens. So just kudos to Maria and anybody else who helps with that.
Ralph?
Clay, the reason you wake up in the morning and that's done is because that you sleep under the very veil of protection that our city staff provides.
Whoa. You just had to one up me, didn't you?
And
Very impressed.
we've got that recorded.
Right. Very impressed tonight that Glenn knew that red fades. I would like the molecular breakdown of the structure of why it fades quicker than any other color. That would impress me even more. So thank you for that tidbit of information. I knew it did, but I didn't know exactly why. So Glenn will provide that to me. I reached out to my two volleyball players and athletes that graduated from Branson High School, and the response I got about, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have Branson logos on the water towers? My Morgan, who graduated last and actually broke just about every single record in the volleyball world over there, said, Pirate Pride, yeah, baby. And then Mia, my little analytical one, said, well, that'd be way cool. So that's the feedback I got live. And to answer the question about 248, I just recently, as of January 6th, moved my business over that way. It's speed. Holy cannoli. Nobody's doing 40 miles an hour over there. Oh, my gosh. Like, that would be probably something that we might be able to up patrol. I don't know, something like that. But, yeah, I think that would be kind of a crucial component of it, yeah.
EJ's taking a note of that, by the way.
Okay, yeah. I don't have calibrated eyes, but boy, I see they're going faster than 40. So,
Hey, Ralph, be careful what you ask for. 'Cause I asked
right.
for stepped up patrol in my neighborhood, and bam.
That's right. Clay
Absolutely.
asked, and he,
Branson Hills Parkway, too.
yeah, and I would be remiss if I wouldn't, kind of piggyback on everybody and truly, the level of professionalism that our staff provides is above and beyond. I mean, whether it's questions or they're solution-oriented. You never go to them, and they present you with a problem. They always present you with a solution as quickly as they can, and I think that's superpower, number one. So thank you guys for continuing to up the game in our city. What's going to happen in this downtown area is really going to up the game, and I look forward to everything that's going to happen with the infrastructure projects throughout the city, because every time you guys move, it becomes more efficient, and it just gets better and better. And it's evident in the satisfaction ratings that you guys are getting and just the happiness of our community and our residents. So they're very pleased with what's going on.
thank you, Ralph. Glenn?
Yeah, I too want to thank Director Woods and staff. We had a really nasty traffic light problem on BLB and Commercial, and it just lingered, and he finally beat that thing into the ground and got it solved, so traffic backups are no longer an issue at that intersection, so I very much appreciate it. You went multiple rounds with that one. It was a tough one, so thanks. I am still getting complaints about engine braking noise up on Branson Hills. I know we're working on some of those things, but I just want to keep it in front of everybody. And I would just also signal to our aldermen, when our staff isn't quite as busy as they are right now with all the development issues going on, I'd probably like to advance and change to our ordinance for engine braking and just ban it completely within the city limits, and not with the exception if there's a muffler on it. I think it's too arbitrary for enforcement, but we can wait for another day for that when our staff isn't quite as busy with other things. And then the last thing I just wanted to comment on, I've been taking some classes through the Missouri Municipal League, and it's, how to be alderman and those kind of things. And ironically, one of the topics, of course, is sunshine law in our state, because it tends to be one that is a pretty broad topic that regulates a lot of things about what we do. And then I read Jason's article in the newspaper in Tri-Lakes about sunshine law. And both of those things kind of gave me pause to say, we really, as a city, are in extraordinarily good shape from a sunshine law perspective. If people request documents that can be requested by a sunshine law, they get a prompt response, they get a fair response, and they get their documents on time. Same thing with posting our required meeting notices and our agendas. In fact, we go way beyond what's required by sunshine law for agendas by putting all the presentations and content in there. We're only required to produce a preliminary agenda, technically under sunshine law. So I just want to give a huge shout out to our city clerk, Hillary, who's the one that really facilitates all those things, and really largely behind the scenes. I think the average citizen probably has no clue how well Hillary glues us together as aldermen in a city to make sure that we're doing the right things for our citizens and for our Board of Aldermen. So thanks very much, Hillary.
Since I was interrupted, I want to add something. It wasn't always that way. Let's remember just 3.5, 4 years ago, it was not that way. And it's because of the leadership that's in place on this board and that's in place in administration, top down. That's the reason that's happening. So thank you for acknowledging that. But I do want you to know it wasn't always that way. And this staff knows that. And we've done everything we can as a board to ensure that we've given them the latitude and the ability to take down the silos and work and do what they do, and that's why they're doing that.
Another ditto. Kathy? I want to thank the aldermen for showing appreciation for several of our different departments. In my humble opinion, I think every department we have is running on all cylinders. Their attitude, the way they treat and care about each other and communicate. And once again, I'm going to say it starts from the top. We are so blessed to have Kathy Stapp as our city administrator. It starts at the top.
Ditto, ditto.
Oh, brother. Last week I attended the annual chamber lunch. Really wish that the aldermen would have attended that. It was very inspiring. What they shared with what Silver Dollar City's doing, what Johnny Morris is doing, is just phenomenal. And we're right in the middle of those two monster projects. We attended the Blue Angels ribbon cutting. And I don't know if you probably heard this, but due to popular demand, they added a third day on their production. They also stated that since they're staying over and doing an extra show on Monday, that they typically fly back to Pensacola and then off to their next location, their next show. So what they're going to do instead is all of the pilots and crew are going to stay in Branson the whole week and enjoy all that Branson has to offer. And I'm telling you, these guys are just, they're head over heels about the patriotism, the authenticity, and the feeling they have when they're in Branson, Missouri. It blows their mind. Which is just kudos to every one of us, every one of the residents that are here and how they're treated. Personally, I'm very proud of that. From a mayor's point of view, what they do for our economic and our community is just, I don't know if you could put a price on that. Blue Angels, Golden Knights this year, Thunderbirds celebrating 2026. They told me it's not official yet. Thunderbirds is official. They also shared with me that Blue Angels are already talking about Branson in 27. So, I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. Just want to remind everybody, our city cleanup next week, right? That's a big deal. We have our spring cleanup, our fall cleanup. The dates are March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. So look up online of which ward you're in and what date. And I think that's something that the city doesn't have to. In fact, when I was an alderman, it was discontinued by a previous administration, right? Administration decided without any board's input, we're not doing that anymore. They did. And we brought it back. So Get out your trash. Put your trash on the street. We'll leave on that. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.